Today we're going to look closely at an article in the Ledger from 2012. It's all about Tappy Wright settling down in a place called Davenport, but that's not why it's interesting. It's because of the guitar he's holding in the picture. Again, stay tuned to the end of this video as I have another bit of interesting information to share with you that I know will be of interest. So let's start with this news article, which is quite interesting in its own right. I'm going to take the bits that are pertinent to Jimi Hendrix, but I will link the entire article in the video description for you.
You never know who will find Northeast Polk County the place to retire. James Tappy Wright, 68, has decided this is the place for him. Wright is well known in the rock and roll industry, once the road manager for such rock and roll greats as Ike and Tina Turner, Jimi Hendrix and the Animals. We were told about this artist who was appearing in the Café Wa, in the Village, a club in New York, where we went to see this black guy called Jimmy James, playing the blues. He was so. We weren't very impressed, until he started playing the guitar with his teeth, behind his head, in between his legs. We decided to take him to England, and changed his name back to his real name, Jimi Hendrix. Wright managed the British office for Hendrix. His major hits in England were Foxy Lady, Hey Joe, and Purple Haze. In early 1967, Wright received a call from Paul McCartney, asking if the new Animals could go to the Monterey Pop Festival in California for a charity show. Wright told them they would, provided they take their other artist, who wasn't known in the United States yet. It was Hendrix. McCartney had no hesitation, Wright said. Pete Townshend was a very important part of Jimi's history in the US. In Monterey, he asked Jimi if he could go on before him, because he didn't want to follow him. Jimi said, sure. He was shy in those days, but then he became upset, because that was how he closed his act, smashing guitars and amplifiers. So he asked for lighter fluid, did his act, and set his guitar on fire at the end. That was the making of Jimi Hendrix in America, Wright said. Hendrix suddenly became huge, and began touring the States. Hendrix returned to the United Kingdom in 1968, to tour with Ike and Tina Turner around Europe. Wright was managing the trio. Wright said his life was non-stop hard work, and he became worn out doing the gigs, and trying to have his own fun in between. After Woodstock, Wright said Hendrix returned to England, to appear in the Isle of Wight Festival, which turned out to be his last. Wright said after Hendrix's death in 1970, he had enough. Wright has written a book, Rock Roadie, describing his life in the rock and roll industry. You can find it wherever books are sold.
However, it's not the article that was of most interest to me. It was the guitar Tappy is holding in the photo accompanying. This is a CBS era large headstock Strat, and it's black. However, what I'm most interested in is the body of the guitar. We have to take a closer look at this guitar body because it bears an uncanny resemblance to the one in Paul David's video. If we zoom in, firstly, look at the strap button. It's perpendicular to the neck, just like the one in Paul's video. Also, if we look at the top, there is a mark way towards the back of the top bout. This is also very similar to that on the guitar in Paul's video. However, possibly the most telling issues are the markings along the bottom of the guitar. Let's take a good close look. Now let's compare these marks with the marks that can be seen on Paul's video. There are marks by the bottom tone pot, and there are marks just behind the end screw by the strap button. These marks are exaggerated and some have been touched up, but they clearly are there on the body of the guitar alleged to be the Monterey in Paul's video. Checking on as many freeze frames as I could from that video, we can see these telltale marks. It was well known that Tappy took only the cleanest and tidiest guitars from Jimi's stock of guitars, believing that they would be the most valuable. This guitar in 2012 looks very clean, but bears marks that tally with the alleged Monterey guitar. All the marks are there, so I wonder if our detective work shows that this body was used and intentionally marked to look like the Monterey. It would have been easy enough to find a 66 F plate for the neck. Equally, it would have been easy to find a rosewood pre-CBS neck to go on it as well. If this was the case, then the only thing Tappy overlooked was the decals. Oh, and the missing marks on the body, of course. So this could be the body that was used by Tappy to fake the Monterey. Obviously, I can't say for certain, but the markings do look very similar, don't they? Okay, so I promised you another bit of news at the end of this video. It has to do with Al Kooper from the last video. I've been searching around for photos of him playing the alleged Monterey, and instead I found this picture, which is a wider shot of a previous photo. Lo and behold, it looks like the Strat given to Al by Jimmy was not a 65. As you can see, it's a rosewood neck, but it is a large headstock CBS era Strat. So maybe we will never know if the Monterey survived or if it was smashed and burned in Washington DC on the 13th of August 67. In the next video we'll be taking a very close look at the pickups and whammy bar from the Monterey. Perhaps we can also discount the idea that the pickups and electronics might have been from that guitar. Stay tuned and hopefully subscribe for that and anything else I can find out about this guitar. In the meantime, you take good care.